Hi, I'm Kili, also known as Kelly.
And I'm Feely, also known as Alex,
Welcome to our corner of the Shire,
where we will show you how to bring Middle Earth
into your daily life to keep you
a happy hobbit.
Welcome to this episode of Happy Hobbit. I'm here in the Sierra Nevada mountains where my family is camping right now. And being the Kili Katniss that I am, I spend a lot of time out in the woods like this. As I'm hiking and walking and exploring, I notice a lot of things just because it comes second nature to me, but I thought that this would be a great subject to share with you all so that when you go out for your own hikes, you'll have a nice basis to start your foundation of Woodlore. So this is knowledge that a lot of elves and rangers would have had because they spent a lot of time outside. So to start with, I'm going to point out that this is very obviously was once a man-made trail. You can tell because, number one, there's still a little bit of a pathway. Number two, the trees that have actually started to be able to grow here are much smaller than the ones surrounding it. So that tells you that this pathway probably hasn't been heavily trafficked for probably about 5 years or so. These mosquitoes, I hear them whining in my ear going. So when you're out exploring like this, especially in Northern California, you need to keep a weather eye open for rattlesnakes. Especially right now, it's late afternoon. This is the time that they like to pool together in the sunlight and catch the last of that heat of the day to take with them through the night. So always keep an eye on what you're stepping on. So here I am on, obviously, the wide path. And I'm going to point out to you right here, and I'm worried some of this stuff isn't going to translate well on camera because it seems two-dimensional versus real life. But if you'll notice right here behind me is a deer path. And you can tell because it's just a little wending clearing in the underbrush where an animal has trafficked. And you can see these small indentations here in the loose soil where the deer have walked down. So we're in a mixed forest right now. This is Douglas fir, which a lot of people buy as Christmas trees. This is madrone, which a lot of people nickname refrigerator trees just because the bark feels cooler than the outside temperature. Then there's the smaller trees are cypress, and then a lot of the large trees that you see around us are either more mature versions of these trees or they're ponderosa pines, which are found all over the world. It's kind of your classic pine tree.
And they're big.
So right here on the path, we've noticed some little ponderosa pine saplings, and unfortunately they aren't doing too well. When you have a lot of tall trees, it's hard for sunlight to get to the understory. That's the lowest part of the forest. And so this little sapling looks like it has suffered from a lack of sunlight. As you can tell, at the end of the day, it's only getting it right now where there's a little bit of light coming in because this was a man-made trail at one time. But it's also had its lower branches knocked off, probably by hungry deer walking by when these branches are young and just biting them off. And possibly this time of year, it's early summer, a lot of the bucks that are getting their antlers have velvet on them still, and so they're looking for anything to rub. Like, unfortunately, this is not going to recover. What fires will do is they'll clear out a lot of the basically garbage of the forest. Like, if you look down, you'll see here's some shed bark, here's some trees, some leaves from the madrone, here's some needles, and this will accumulate and accumulate. And as we get farther into the woods off of this path, I'll show you how it naturally starts to break down. But what a fire will do is it will come through and it will burn all this and consume it and leave behind ash, which is full of nitrates, which are really good for plants to absorb to help them grow. And so fire is kind of nature's natural way of keeping the forest clean. And understandably, we don't really encourage forest fires. So that's why some areas have controlled burns. They know that, you know, it's for the health of the forest, and so firefighters are keeping an eye on it to keep it away from habitations and outbuildings and stuff like that. But where we are right now, you definitely wouldn't want a fire because it's near a campground. So this is obvious evidence that someone else, either animal or human, has been here. This is a leaf from the fern that's been stepped on and broken off. And this one, you know, ferns don't usually grow like this. You can tell it's been stepped on at some point. So, yeah, if you keep your eye out for things like that, broken branches and stuff, you'll know you're not alone. That crow knows we're here and is kind of upset, and that's why it won't shut up until now that I called it out on it. That bird must have a nest nearby. See, I hate it when they do stuff like this. Crows and jays, they sound the alarms, and everyone in the forest, every bird knows I'm here. And that kind of pisses me off. And that's something Katniss never once noticed in the Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins. Ahem. Birds will always tell you that there's another human present way faster than your own senses will. So that's something that if you ever find yourself in the Hunger Games, or if you ever find yourself, you know, wearing a Wicked Tinker shirt alone in the Sierra Nevadas,
Or Middle Earth, Fangorn.
Yeah, or in Fangorn, you're probably
You're probably doomed already.
You're probably pretty doomed even just from the trees. But, you know, if you're in the Misty Mountains or the Blue Mountains, then, you know.
Old Forest, probably.
Yes, the Old Forest.
The mosquitoes here are big as Smaug. Where are you? Show your face.
He's roosting. Alright, so I'm going off the human trail. I'm going to show you this meadow. So here's some trees that, like I was explaining earlier, they didn't make it to maturity because of the lack of sunlight. The other trees were squeezing out all of the sun, so they made it this high, and then since the other trees were taller, they couldn't access the sun up there for their photosynthesis processes, and unfortunately, they passed away because of that. So we're sorry, this is a tree graveyard. So since we're off the path, and most of the animals look like they go that way, sometimes I avoid the trails where I know that the deer go. Why? Because the deer walk through poison oak, and then they walk through the pathway, and then they leave the poison oak oil and all the bushes for a naked human like me to come along. Excuse me, dwarf.
Oh my gosh, don't identify yourself like that as a human. It's like stepping into Narnia.
Here we go. Stepped on fern, crushed. Someone's been here before us. That's okay though. I expect Bjorn to be out and about.
We've seen a few Bjorns.
Bjorn's yes.
Last night he tried to eat all our garbage and we caught him in the act.
So as you can see, this Ponderosa pine is about the same size as the ones that we saw just on our way here, and yet it's thriving because its sunlight is not blocked. Alright guys, this right here, this is a deer trail, and you can tell because of how narrow it is. But you can see that it just winds its way through the grass there. And it's a pretty obvious path. Right here in front of me, part of the meadow, is a big flattened area. Now, if this were in a more sheltered region, I would say it's probably where a deer, maybe a doe and her fawn bedded down for the day because they're pretty nocturnal and they try to sleep during the hot hours of the day. But seeing as this isn't a very sheltered location, my guess is that it could be one of Beorn's cousins trying to scratch an itch by rolling all around and squashing all the grass. So this bush is a manzanita. In Spanish, that means little apple, and you can see why right here. Their berries look actually like little green apples. Where we live, we have a species of this bush that is a little bit more adapted to the sand than these ones, but even these, you can tell they have sort of a waxy leaf to avoid losing moisture that they don't want to lose when it's really hot, and they will often have a lighter colored underbelly than upper part of the leaf and that's to reflect heat coming from the top away from them so that once again they won't lose excess moisture. Keep going here. This has turned from a human trail to an animal trail. And this one is wide enough that I would venture a guess that even one of Beorn's cousins uses it. So let's see if we can find any evidence that a bear lives nearby. Oh, here's a piece of wood that fell off of, in fact, this is part of a decomposed fallen log actually. You can see here, the termites have already decomposed most of the wood material, but right here, oh my gosh, there's even part of an acorn in there. These are holes made when the tree was alive or dying by a woodpecker, and the woodpecker would stuff acorns or various other nuts like that, but acorns fit pretty nicely in there, and that's a woodpecker's way of keeping food for the winter. And you'll see some trees with thousands of those holes, and part of that reason is because the woodpecker might be the one who's doing all the work and putting all the wood there, all the acorns there, but that doesn't mean he's the one who's going to eat it. Lots of blue jays and other birds like in the jay family are really opportunistic and clever birds, and they'll just take it from the woodpecker. So here's yet another example of what happens when a tree doesn't get all the sunlight it needs. These branches are able to reach the sunlight, so they're able to photosynthesize and stay alive. The ones below, covered by the tree's own shade, have not survived. So this is why so many pine trees, like the ones we're surrounded by, don't have many branches lowered down. It's because those branches aren't efficient for the tree to keep it alive. So we've come across several of these oddly smoothed patches in the woods, and if we were back home, I'd say it was probably a boar, but it's not even as churned up as a boar would leave it, and there are no footprints. So I'm guessing this is from a bear. There must have been some insects or larvae around here, and the bear used its nose like a shovel to root around.
Let's step out of it. It's kind of hard to see, but...
So right here is a sight that even people in the city are probably used to seeing. This is a fresh young pine cone that's been completely stripped by a squirrel. So the squirrel pried open all of the little parts of the pine cone and ate the pine nuts out of it, and then threw it on the ground. And you can see some of the pieces of the pine cone that the squirrel ripped off. So right here is a couple owl pellets. This one is clearly, I'd say it ate another bird. These are the tips of feathers. And then this one actually has, like, there's a big chunk of bone right there. Actually, that might be a beak. So the owl was probably perched in that tree. And for people who don't know, owls swallow their food whole, and then it gets digested, and then they regurgitate it rather than it necessarily coming out the other end. They regurgitate the parts they can't use, like the fur or feathers or the bones, in a pellet, and it just comes out like that, and then you know what your local owls have been eating. So right here is a rotting branch that a bear overturned in order to get at the grubs and other insects that are inside it. And when you're walking past things like this is where you really have to watch out for snakes, because they love to hide in the hollows of old logs and hang out in the shade of them and stuff. So yeah, just be extra careful when you're stepping on a log, because rattlesnakes only ever bite if they feel threatened, and they don't want to bite. They don't want to waste their venom. That's for their food. They know they cannot eat us. And they're also vipers, so they go by heat sensory pits that are located right here, sort of on either side of their nostrils. And so all they sense is heat from a large animal headed their way, potentially to kill them. And if you startle them, then that is how people get bitten. But most of the time, if you're just keeping an eye out and you're out in the woods, usually no harm will come to you.
Even if you see one, it does not mean
even
you're
if
gonna...
you see one,
You don't have to try to kill it. They're fine.
No, they want to get away from you. And they will usually try to warn as well before they bite, and they'll shake their rattle, and it doesn't sound like a baby's rattle, it sounds like a beetle buzz. It sounds like zzz. So if you've watched old westerns and stuff and you hear the I've never heard that in my own personal experience, ever, from a rattlesnake. It's always been a buzzing sound. So keep your ear out for that.
2 ears, actually.
As often as you can.
As often as I can spare them.
So this is a good example of how leaves naturally decompose. These ones have fallen to the ground a little prematurely, but then they'll fade in color as they start to age and start to rot, and then they'll start to shrink until they become these spiderwebby little things that are just easily crushed. In fact, a lot of these little pieces are dead leaves, and they become part of the soil. They become part of the humus, which is the first and most nutritious layer of the soil.
Not humorous.
The humus doesn't have a sense of humor, and it's not hummus.
I thought a humerus was a bone.
Yeah. So we wanted evidence that one of the bears were here. There you go. I was hoping to bring you a footprint, but this is as good as it gets, and as you can tell, no joke, he ate popcorn.
Yeah. Beautiful close up there.
Beorn's toilet. Right here. It doesn't really look like a bathroom, but you
He's
know.
a unique guy. He's a nice decorating.
So this is where a bear has walked, and you can see this is where one of the paws, probably the front paw, went, and you can see at least 3 claw indentations. So this is a bear path, which makes sense because it's right by the bear's toilet. What do bears eat, you may ask? Let's go find out. So these are one of a bear's favorite foods and one of humans' favorite foods. As you can tell, they're not ready yet. These are wild blackberry bushes. We have them pretty much all over California. And you can see the different stages. Here's a blossom. Here are berry kernels forming. And here's a blossom about to turn into berry kernels. So that those ones that turn into berry kernels have already been fertilized by bees or butterflies. These are also wild peas. But I have no idea if you can eat them or not. I've never tried. It's not usually smart to just eat things that you find outside that you don't know about yet, so.
Unless you want to die and bring up death again.
Yeah, if you want to die, then. Or like go through excruciating pain in your inner regions. One of the things, he was eating the bear's leftovers.
Man, Beorn left his trash and now look who gets it.
As you can tell, we're back. This is a bike trail. We found our way back up to a bike trail.
This is all Beorn, right there.
He took the contents of a garbage bag, brought it over here, and
He dragged the whole bag.
Yep, he put the whole bag, and as you see, the crows are now eating what's left. Here's the funny thing, I see whole eggshells right there, which are actually really full of calcium and good for you. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, or if you're a wild animal. He hasn't eaten them. What did he eat instead? Licked out a can of Frisky's cat food.
Frisky's cat food, some milk.
Licked out some, is this milk? Yep, low-fat milk, and you know why?
Oh, and what's the best of all?
Oh yeah,
Best of all, here is his dessert. Oh yeah.
And you can see on the bottom, look at the puncture marks.
It's the good stuff.
Where he bit it. Why do they do this? They do it because at this time of year when they're getting ready for the winter, it's now June, the end of June. When they're getting ready for the winter, they want to eat food with as high of a fat content as they can. So that's why he didn't eat the eggshells, and he's targeting sweets, meat, And
They love the Hershey bars.
peanut butter. Yeah,
Yeah, and peanut
they
butter.
love Hershey bars and peanut butter. Look right there.
Oh, there's another.
There's a whole nother spot where he feasted.
Wait, keep shining. That's a brown guy. Bye-bye, Mr. Bear.
So as I'm hiking through the woods, these are just thoughts that run through my head because I've had years to be able to make these observations. A lot of people who go for hikes don't have the benefit of being able to walk out their door and be in nature. So if you are one of those people, I hope that this gives you a decent foundation to start knowing what you're looking at. You know, you can learn what your local trees are, what your local plants and flowers are, what your local birds are, so you can identify them by song and by their behavior and by their silhouettes when they're flying over you in the sky, and what the tracks of the animals that you have near you look like. So these are all steps you can take to starting to build your own woodlore. I hope this episode has left you a happy hobbit.
Just in time.
Look out! Don't film them. They'll get mad.
Oh my god, we're lost. Trail crossing? We need to find the road.
We're so far out in the woods that I don't even know where I am.
Like, I'm so lost. Kili, wait! Kili! Stop!
Hold on. Okay, Bongo. Welcome to... I am out here in the Sierra Nevada map. Hold on, wait. Jane Polly. Here one. Friggin' mosquito.
Kind of like a Smeagol who sucked helium.
Kind of like I just did that better than Brett O'Gorman.
Oh.
So we wanted evidence that Beorn or one of the bear cousins was here. Got it.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes.
I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes. I hope you guys enjoy it.
I'm going first and disturbing all the foliage and arousing all the mosquitoes, and then they're going after Kili because she's behind me.
I've got about like 10 bites already.
Hurry, let's do this.
Okay.
Alright.
That ain't him.
It's
You
that crow.
lie.
It's the same
Huck
crow who
Finn.
keeps yelling at us.
There you are! And he's off.
It's a Crabane. Clearly he's sending a message to Sauron, or Saruman, that I'm here in these woods, and I don't know why.
No.
I'm trying to talk like Legolas.
I don't know. Everybody run! Beorn's coming! Get to his house quick! Bomba, run! Bomba! Where did you get your speed? Bomba? Ah!
Here I am talking about doom and death again. It's kind of my like signature thing.
It's okay, Kili. If anyone's read The Hobbit, they might know why. JK LOL. Please forgive me.
That's who the he meant. It's not my fault you didn't understand my pronoun usage.
Who says that in Huck Finn? You lie.
You ain't a girl, you's a boy.
I swear there's a you lie.
Yeah, she says you's a boy. If you were a girl, you would have missed that rap by mine.
Oh, well,
How you tease a poor girl
so.
Huck Finn, starring Elijah Wood, one of our favorite movies.
Yeah. And you wanna know how awesome we are? Play the clip. We once drove down this road the whole time screaming
Mark Hadlow.
and Dory. Mark Hadlow! Dory!
Yeah.
Why? Why not?
Because we've got like really obsessed with him, and then we didn't ever get to meet him at the premiere, and now we're going to FantasyCon, and he's not going to that either. So
Mark Hadlow, where are you?
that is the question of life. Where is Mark Hadlow?
Yeah.
You could spend decades trying to figure that out.
Will it ever be answered?